Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm PJ, and as always, I'm joined by Excabandai over there. Zach, what up, man?
Hello.
Yeah, so for those that are new to the channel, we're basically planning on doing post-game reactions to, all the Packers games this season, including the victory in Week 1 over the Detroit Lions, 27-13 game. Definitely a lot larger of a margin of victory than kind of what we were anticipating going into it, but, I'm not going to be mad at that. Um, and in the meantime, I'm going to be playing some Ultimate Team as we're kind of talking about this one, mainly because I need to catch up on some challenges. But you can see my roster so far. I'm kind of working toward a Packers themed team, but I'm not usually playing Ultimate Team. I just like doing the challenges, so whatever. But yeah, in the meantime, what are your kind of initial thoughts of the game, Zach?
Initial thoughts are team looked pretty good. For the first season opener, I think in the LaFleur, era, they actually looked, they looked pretty well prepared. The penalties were cut down, the sloppiness was cut down. They looked like they were, they were ready to go, and they hit it on all cylinders. Um, they had 4 penalties, and for the most part, they were inconsequential. I mean, the taunting penalty hurt a little bit, but the offside penalty was not that big of a deal. And then there was 2 holds on special teams returns, which ultimately didn't affect anything because I think we got points on both those drives.
I believe so. And yeah, you're right. It was 4 penalties for 40 yards for the Packers. Lions also had 40 yards of penalties, but on 7 instead of 4.
Yeah, so we were a more disciplined team. Love was pretty efficient in the passing game. I think he completed almost 73% of his passes, which is a pretty good start to the season, especially against a team that's kind of been I don't want to say it's kryptonite, but they've kind of had his number in most of his starts that he's played against them. Defense looked great. They had 4 sacks, held them to less than 50 yards rushing, which was kind of a big point coming into the game. As Kenny Clark is gone, how are they going to stop the run? Well, they looked pretty damn good Sunday.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild to see Gibbs and Montgomery not really getting much on the ground. Like, I would have been fine with them, being kind of limited to 100 yards or so. But to see them actually just ball out like that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, when we played them at home last year, they combined for 130 yards, 130 something yards.
Yeah, somewhere
So it
around there.
was quite a big difference between, first game last year. And I mean, they did have some, you know, things to kink or things that were kinks in their, game preparation, having new coordinators and on both sides of the ball and new interior line. But overall, I think that we had a great game from start to finish in all 3 phases.
Yeah, it's hard to think about a game where we were that dominant against that quality of opponent in a long time. You know, when we were talking about it pre-game too, just kind of going with the defensive theme first. I remember we were kind of like wondering how the offensive line was going to look for the Lions, especially against our pass rush and stuff, because Parsons was supposed to be limited snaps and everything, but Van Ness looked really good, especially compared to, where he was at last year. Hopefully that is the sign of the next step being done and not just a kind of one game, deal. And then, yeah, I want to say, what? I started to look down, forgot to run on there. But, yeah, I mean, they had 9 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits, 4 sacks, and an interception as a unit. Probably my favorite play outside of the Parsons, chase down sack, which I've watched an unhealthy amount of times today. Well, pretty much since Sunday. is when they forgot to block. I think it was Wooden over in their
Yeah.
own goal line. I was like, what the heck is that? He was just there, so
Yeah, they double teamed Parsons and just left Wooden all alone.
yeah.
He was like, well, hello.
Yeah, it was everybody on the D line pretty much had a good game. I didn't have anybody that stood out as having a rough one. Um, you know, also on defense too, Cooper was flying around like crazy. He ended up with 12 tackles and like 8 of them were solo.
Yeah.
Even like Bullard and Walker both had like 9 tackles each as well. So, you know,
Yeah,
with
the
the
defense was
defense,
swarming. It was refreshing to see a defense that just, see ball, attack ball.
yeah. Yeah, I was pretty pleased with that. And then St. Brown never really got super going either because we were talking about that, in the last video where he had 47 catches for 481 and 3 touchdowns against the Packers in his 8 career games entering that one, but he ended up on the day 4 catches, 45 yards, and about 19 of those was on one play. Like
Yeah.
when you make all their kind of stars just get shut down, it was an easy day of work.
Yeah, I mean the only receivers, that kind of had any traction going was Laporta had quite a few yards. I think it was 68. And then Gibbs had 10 catches, but only for 31 yards, which I think was like a historically low amount of yards for the amount of catches that he had.
I was happy about that in fantasy football because I had him as a running back in the points per reception league.
Yeah, which is nice. You kind of got it both ways. Packers defense bottled him up, but you got a bunch of fantasy points out of it.
And I had the Packers defense, so that also is nice. Ah, busted a run right there. That sucked. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, I can't say enough good things about the defense. If they play like that all season, we have a great shot at, going to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
which it was refreshing. It was just, like, it was so nice to seeing like how energized the crowd was whenever Parsons would enter the game and stuff. It was just like noticeable.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they were just playing with great energy all game.
yeah.
And, it's just for the struggles that we've had in the last 4 seasons or so playing the Lions, particularly under Dan Campbell. It was refreshing to see them come out on offense and defense, and they were ready to just punch them in the mouth. They were ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and even going on offense too, real quick. Well, I guess first before I mention the offense, got to give a shout out to Evan Williams too on that one interception. Parsons forced the issue as the Lions were on a kind of a long drive again, and it led to Golf kind of throwing one, and Evan Williams sat on the route and stuff. So ended
Yeah, it
up
was a great read by Williams, and the pressure didn't hurt. Because if he wasn't being pressured, he could have gone, well, I see Williams peeking, let me go somewhere else. The pressure went in his face. He threw it into the pressure, and Williams made a great play. And it was at a great time, right at the end of the first half, keeping Detroit from gaining at least another 3 points.
Yeah.
And it prevented them from possibly doubling up and scoring points to end the half and then getting the ball back to score more points. So it was a great momentum shift.
Yeah. Between that and the one drive where, the Lions had a pretty long drive that ended up only in a field goal, and then Green Bay's offense came out and got a touchdown in 2 plays to first the deep shot to Dobbs and then hit it over the top to Reed afterwards.
It was one of those, like, it was a great 2 plays, but I was really hoping that they would use some clock.
Yeah, give the defense a little bit of a break afterwards, but
took 53 seconds.
Yeah, and I mean offensively too, like they played pretty well too outside of kind of like the third quarter. It slowed down a bit, but that first half, pass protection was absolutely incredible. They spread the ball around quite a bit with Love. He was 16 to 22 for a $188, but 2 touchdowns and 10 different receivers got a catch in the game. So
yeah, no one had more than 3 catches.
Yeah, it was great. Watching it. Reed ended up being the leading.
Yeah, if you had to point
receptions.
towards a negative on the offense, it's probably them kind of slowing down a little bit in general in the second half, and the run game was very ineffective in the first half.
Yeah.
You know, Jacobs only had 8 yards on 6 carries because there was nowhere to go. Like, he would get the ball and he was immediately being hit, you know, right at the line. There was nowhere to go. So hopefully they can, you know, watch the film and, you know, see something that they can improve on to get some of those running lanes open a little earlier in the game. But to their credit, in the second half, I think if you just look at the second half carries, Jacobs was 58 yards on 13 carries, I believe.
Yeah, he ended
And, you
up
know,
at
that was close to 4.5 yards a carry. So it was a significant increase in the second half.
yeah, I was gonna say
They figured something out.
he ended up at 19 of 66 with a touchdown, which extended that franchise record.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that too, like even when he was not really able to run the ball too well, he did really well in the pass protection too. That kind of helped set up some of those throws for Love. So he did a great job just staying effective throughout the
Oh
entire
yeah, I
game.
mean he had a great game regardless of, like, he had a great first half even though his rushing yards didn't look good. It's just there was nowhere for him to run when he was getting the ball. Like, it's not even that he was making poor decisions. There was just nowhere to go.
Can't select and play all of a sudden here, but yeah, I mean overall, like I was pretty pleased with the offense. We kind of mentioned Hutchinson too. You know, going into that game, how was he going to do on his return after the broken leg last year for Detroit?
Mm-hmm. And even the broadcast made a big point, like right at the beginning of the game, to point out Hutchinson versus our offensive tackles, and officially recorded 0 tackles.
Yeah, I think he had like one quarterback hit, not including, you know, just
The
absolutely
personal
hitting the.
foul.
Yeah, there it goes. Had no idea what was going on. I still wasn't able to select plays until all of a sudden just then. Madden be maddening. But yeah, I mean overall, can't be too mad. Injuries going into that or coming out of that game. Zach Tom, who got injured when Hutchinson hit Jordan Love, which that sucked, but Brenton Cox got injured. Aaron Banks got injured too. I don't know how serious that one was because he was kind of getting checked out late.
Yeah.
And then Bo Melton also picked up a little bit of a knock too, so we'll kind of see what the injury reports are saying as we get closer to the Commanders game because it's a short week and stuff. But hopefully, you know, everybody can play pretty decently. If not, you know, we got Jordan Morgan and company that are available on, you know, the offensive line. Jesus, I cannot get a stop on this challenge. Oh, that's annoying. But yeah, and then outside of that, Kennard is the guy that filled in at right tackle too when Zach Tom went out. He did really well as well, so I was pretty surprised and pleased with how well he did because I thought that was going to be Belton that went in instead. So, but,
Yeah, well, they traded for him for a reason.
yeah, I was like, shout out to him. But where would you say on as far as opening days for the Packers in at least like since like 2010? Where does that one rank?
I'm not gonna pretend that I remember every opening day's game since 2010. I would have to say that it's from an emotional, like, fan standpoint, it doesn't beat 2018 against Chicago with the money game. But you know, just watching the way the team played, you know, they played a complete game for all 4 quarters, which I have been asking this team to play for years now. You know, because it always seems like we take an entire quarter off or we take a half off and we're either a first half team or a second half team. And against the Lions this week, it was a complete game from start to finish. So the logical, pragmatic standpoint, like, it's got to be like a top 2 or 3 season opener in the last 15 years. But the emotional side, it can't top that Chicago game. That was, so thrilling to come back in the way that we did to win that game.
Yeah, agreed. I was leaning toward like top 3 to 5, because like you said, the My Knee game was just iconic. That was absolutely hilarious,
Yeah,
especially
I still enjoy watching highlights of that game to this day.
same. And then
Which I'm probably going to feel the same way about that Parsons sack. Watching him pop out of that swarm of bodies like a cheetah, just absolutely blazing towards Goff, who had no idea he was there.
yeah, I think my favorite Reddit comment on that was, how would you feel if you were Golf running free and then all of a sudden you hear the crowd amping up as you on the run, like knowing that he had to be behind you?
Like, you still have the ball, so it's not because the defense has done something yet.
Yeah, I think as far as season openers, My Knee game is ahead of this one. Sneaky one would be the Saints one after we won the Super Bowl, because that came down to the final drive. I think it's probably on that level for me. I need a little bit more time to let that one marinate. I'm debating on if I want to put Jordan Love's debut last year, or his first year as starter. Yeah, 2 years ago against the Bears, when Chicago was shit talking the entire offseason just for Jordan Love to come out there and drop him 38 to 20.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great game too. Definitely, cathartic watching them talk so much trash, and then Love went out there and was just surgical. On top of that, that is got to be one of the worst Bears performances I've ever seen. I know, JT O'Sullivan had done his video on Justin Fields, and man, he openly said that this video will not be monetized because the language that he was going to use was not monetizable.
He imagines so bad that somebody's willing to give up money just to like toss that away.
Yeah, I mean, he was not very complimentary of that Bears team, at least in that particular game. So, yeah, I think the reason that one doesn't rate higher for me is just because it wasn't really competitive. Like, we came out, we took a lead, and we never looked back. But we also didn't particularly look great. Like, we made a lot of mistakes in that game. It's just the Bears made so many more.
Yeah.
Where this game, we went in and, I mean, Love had the, almost interception. The fortunate was dropped. And then he had the Brian Branch interception that got called back because of a penalty. Not particularly what you want, but they didn't hurt you because neither of those resulted in actual turnovers. So there's still some learning moments, but for the most part, they played solid through and through. And, it was a great team performance. I watched the post-game press conference with Matt LaFleur, and, he sounded excited because the team as a whole played complementary football between all three phases of no one being a liability. And, on top of that, being against a team that's, kind of had her number the last 4 seasons, it was a great overall win. It didn't have that same emotional factor as like the Bears comeback win, or like you mentioned the Saints game. If I remember correctly, that's the one where Cobb had the kick return touchdown.
Yep, Cobb's debut.
It didn't quite hit those emotions because we never really had a moment like that. That just kind of like rocked the whole game and flipped everything over. But, from start to finish, it was just a great game. Like, it's got to be 2 to 3 for me behind the Bears in 2018. And
Jesus Christ, dude, I cannot make a stop on this. Like, every time I get the Lions to third down, all of a sudden they become god tier.
Oh, we also didn't mention it, but shout out to Whelan with
Oh yeah,
that booming leg,
like
averaging almost 55 yards a punt.
I cannot believe I forgot the Irishman there. Yeah, like he was absolutely crucial in keeping some of the just absolutely destroyed golf right there. Yeah, he was absolutely crucial on just keeping the field possession game in our favor too for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was happy to see, special teams looked good. Um, defense looked obviously great, especially compared to what we were expecting going into it. And then yeah, I mean, overall no complaints. But yeah, just as a quick, update on the channel too. We're planning on doing the preview for the Commanders. We'll be recording on Tuesday nights. That way it can be up on the channel on Wednesday. Uh, and then since the game's on Thursday late, we have to work on Friday, unfortunately. So we'll do our kind of initial thoughts on that game Friday. Probably do some more Ultimate Team just so I can get through these challenges. I might still be doing this freaking one at this point. But hopefully, we'll be able to get that up on the channel on Saturday. And then if everything's working timing-wise, I'll have probably the NASCAR Heat video up after that. That's kind of been on the back burner, unfortunately, recently, so I'm going to try to get that done here and get caught up, but also still got the Madden 25, thank God, video that's pretty close to being completely edited, so hopefully that'll be
Yay!
out finally.
You did it!
It's been
So
84
clap
years.
for you like you're a toddler.
It's bad. I didn't even get full stars on it, but I almost don't care at this point. But
Yeah, because you gave up a first down.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the game plan on the channel right now. All right, but yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up there because I'm mentally done with that challenge. I'm actually annoyed by that. So, yeah, any last words on this one, Zach?
No, I said my piece.
All
Team had a
right,
great win.
yeah, I'm pleased overall. I think we're good for this one. So, yeah, if you like this one, feel free to leave a like, say go Pack Go in the comments, all that good stuff. If you want more Ultimate Team, feel free to let us know. Hopefully we'll get some packs here as the we get ready for the Commanders, preview, or excuse me, the Commanders recap. And then yeah, we'll go from there. Or if you want some franchise, let me know on that too. But until next time, take care, y'all. Now I can finally go to bed.